Hey everyone, before we get started with the episode, I just wanted to let you know that this is the official trigger warning for the episode. In case you missed it from the title, we will be reacting and sharing our honest thoughts about everything that's happened in Asian America, but specifically about what happened in Atlanta in March 2021. I wanted to provide this so that if you are not in a place to enter into this conversation, to go back to that space, then feel free to skip this or to save this episode for when you are ready to have the conversation. I think that what we say is incredibly important, especially if you are an Asian American, if you are an adoptee, if you are friends with an Asian American or an Asian adoptee. Then this is a really, really, really important episode to listen to, and it felt like something that we couldn't stay silent about. However, it is a week on from the events, and that already feels like a lifetime ago. And if you have needed a break from hearing about that, all of that transpired, then we certainly understand and will not hold it against you. With that being said, any information, all of the resources that we talked about, anything that you could hope to find out more about, anything that we talked about in the episode, it is in our show notes. So please take a moment and look at those, whether you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whatever. Our show notes have lots of information there. So we just wanted to let you know that's what we're talking about. This is a really hard, raw, honest conversation. Not at all what our normal Janchi show is like, but like I said, we felt like this was important to share, and really we wanted to give space for each other to process and to model what processing looks like, to model what holding space for each other looks like. So all that being said, here is our show. Welcome back to the Janchi Show. This is not your average Janchi Show because current events don't allow it to be the average Janchi Show. So for our listeners, Janchi means celebration or feast in Korean, or in English from Korean, sorry. But that is, we're certainly celebrating our identities, but there's a lot of weight that comes with who we are and where we are right now. So this is not your typical show. So if you're jumping in, maybe pause and go back to a different episode to get a normal flavor of what our show is, except for episode 27, because that one also is not an average show. But every other show is what it is. So
yeah, we're not going to have a guest today. We're just going to talk about some current events.
We're not going to have a food today.
Not going to have a food. We did talk. This episode will air next week on Wednesday, so it will be 4 or 5 days since being recorded, so there a lot of things could happen in this time, but yeah, we just wanted to get out the information and what's on our chest now during the week that things are happening, and just to check in on each other. That's what we're about. We're kind of like a little Janchi family, I feel. I mean, that's how I always relate it, and so checking in on each other here.
This is the Janchi Show holding space for the hosts, because for as branded as our show is, and for us being the fun and light and also serious space that we want this to be, this is one of those times where we have to break the format, because I think the situation calls for it, and I think that just the heart of the show is modeling. And I think one of the hardest things for us, for me anyways, is like, how do I give myself space? How do I hold space for adoptees? Like, what are things that I wish people would say to me or do for me, that helps us process this? So I think that that's what this show is about. So it's not your average Janchi. It's more just the show.
Appreciate that you guys did a live Instagram yesterday. For any of those who caught that, there was a short, like 35
Well,
minutes.
it's about as long as a solo show is. So
you guys talked.
Yeah,
It was
a little
good.
bit longer than I thought it would.
we had words.
I have a lot to say.
Again, you can go watch it on our page. But yeah, I thought that was good that you guys got that availability to do that. So how I mean, Patrick, since you kind of initiated that Instagram, how are you feeling since then? Did that help, I guess, too?
I think it does. I think it did help. I think, honestly, all of these group settings that I find myself in are very cathartic for me, because I find, and I'm about to say this, and it's kind of a quote, but I don't. Oh, I know who it was. It is the endless Hannah from the Endless Wanderer account on Instagram. Hannah Johns. Sorry, I was like blanking on your name, Hannah. That's my bad. But she said, "I find I heal best in community." I think it was on a live, or maybe it was on a story. I'm not sure, but it just really resonated with me. And you know, I was telling people before this week I had two things planned. I was doing the Adoptee Bridge panel last night, and then I was doing this. Well, the original version of what this was supposed to be, interview was supposed to be today. And Tuesday night at 10:30, suddenly I had 100 things on the calendar. I've not went to sleep until 2, 3 o'clock each night because I'm either in a clubhouse room, or I'm talking or sitting with somebody, or I'm checking some news out, or I'm doing something else. I scheduled impromptu room on Wednesday because Wednesday was, for me personally, and for a lot of people, but for me personally, it was really tough. I was struggling. I cried on the way to work. I cried when I was at work, and that's another thing. Like, so this is even before Thursday, so I am doing better, Nathan. I won't get into all that, but that's where that anger comes from. Is I really feel unacknowledged and unseen right now by the people that I feel like I should be seen by. And it's really, I feel really great that I am finding community with other Korean people, not adopted or not, other Asian people, just finding community with other people that look like me and people that don't look like me but are also part of this community. And that's really great. That helps a lot because right now I feel like I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know, man. I'm doing better, but I'm also not doing better at all. Sorry, I'm not trying to make this like the most downer for you, Nathan. I was just
this is what
I haven't
it is, man.
talked about it like this with y'all. I've been talking about it with other people, and in Clubhouse, or when I'm moderating or leading a discussion, I'm gonna be fired up, but I also want to temper and hold space for other people and be able to share. And I haven't really let loose out on like this, and I'm not really trying to necessarily, but when you asked me the question, I was like, all right, you're not going to say any of this. And then I said half or most of what I said I wasn't going to say. So yeah, I don't know. This is like it's a processing moment for me, and I really appreciate you guys just even sitting here and listening to me just talk. So that helps a lot too.
And for those who are listening to this, maybe even 3 months down the road, 6 months down the road, or and aren't really sure what we're talking about, there was a shooting in Atlanta, Georgia, and so it's another example of how we've had a lot of anti-Asian hate happening in this country. We talked about it on episode 27, where we discussed a little bit of where we were at that moment, and that was, I want to say, 3 weeks ago, and we're still here, and maybe even worse off than we were at that point, but we're more enlightened, we're more involved, and we have a lot more to say. So that's why we decided to do another episode about this. And thank you for everyone for tuning in. What about you, KJ?
I think I'm the opposite of Patrick. When I saw the headline about the shooting in Atlanta, I was like, oh man, that sucks. And then I think I had to stay up all night to edit the Janchi Show.
Oh yeah, we were talking about
that. So I was busy laughing at our previous episode. So I did not know what was happening, or didn't, I guess, have space to process. And then Patrick texted us, or I don't know, said something somewhere to the internet, and was just like, this is how I'm feeling. And I was like, damn. And then one of my friends messaged me the next day on Wednesday and was like, hey, how are you doing? And I was like, well, I'm mostly just pissed off because I have to do this all day staff retreat of fun, basically. And being the only person of color on staff, nobody knew what was going on. I just saw that Biden had ordered that the flag be flown half-mast for, until the 22nd
It
of
was 4
March.
days, I think.
And I know that going into Sunday, I'm sure people are gonna walk in and see the flag at half-mast, and I'm just gonna have to be up there leading worship like everything is fine, and it's not fine because I will be the only Asian in that service. Probably in both services, I will be. It's just like. So I have been incredibly angry. I have not been as emotionally affected by this as I have been other things, which I count as a blessing because I think a lot of people in our community have been really emotionally affected by this. And so I have the privilege of spending my energy checking in with people and not like having to process and deal with this as much personally. But yeah, I don't know. So I'm really angry, and now I'm past the anger and back into sadness with a lot of anger still. But like sadness is the growing emotion in me. And I think it's because of some well-meaning individuals who have missed the mark of what it means to support and be an ally or a friend to Asian Americans during this time. And that's something that I think that we should chat about. But Nathan, round us out. How are you feeling? How's your wife feeling? You certainly are in the unique position between the three of us of having another Asian American spouse, and Asian American kids, which
And
neither
you
of us
live
have.
in California where there's
and
a
you,
lot
yeah,
more
exactly.
Asians,
So
where a lot of these attacks are happening.
yeah, how are
Yeah.
you? How is your family?
Yeah, no, I mean, we're here at home. We're doing pretty good. I mean, I stay pretty calm most of the time because
I mean, also
I'm
you have young
busy.
kids, so it's not like
Yeah.
they're following Next Shark on their own
Exactly.
Instagrams.
My kids aren't involved in the current events.
Yeah.
They are not on Reddit and MSNBC, but they I think they realize the emotions are coming from Allison and I, so we keep it pretty light. They're not old enough for us to talk about these situations yet. But Allison didn't even really hear too much about it because she's been working. This is her last week of work before we move. So we've discussed it a little bit and talked about it, but it's one of those things that we're trying to, do what research we can. And we're saddened. And like you said, mad at first, sad second. I mean, we're both. And we've read a few articles about it. We've seen the social media posts, and we've done as much research about it and reading and as we can. But again, most of our time is spent taking care of the kids, and so something that is definitely on my mind is these events. I'm in California, and yeah, there's the grandmother in San Francisco who got attacked and fought back. There's cases on subways. There's lots of a father shot in with their son, and there's a lot of things happening out here in California. But there's also a lot of people out here too. And now that I'm getting ready to move from a more densely Asian populated area to a less Asian populated area, I'm very unsure. I'm uneasy. I'm anxious. I'm not really taking it all in. I know it's 3 weeks away, but there's definitely hesitancy on the outcome of the future as these crimes and on this hate increases. And so I'm just looking for ways of hope and of something that I posted on my Facebook yesterday was about kindness, and I'm hoping that there is some transition and that some people, move toward that. And I'm happy to see that there is some progress and that celebrities are talking out about this and there is awareness. So that I am hopeful for.
Yeah, I think kind of moving on to at least one thing that we want to discuss, or that I wanted to discuss, is what response has there been, if any, from friends or loved ones or acquaintances or colleagues to each of us personally, and how that has helped or not helped. So for me, just speaking first, I don't know. I wrote a whole song about feeling like I'm falling apart. One of the things that I anticipated and still made me really angry was somebody commented on one of my posts and said, I had no idea. Also, I love this song. And I was like, of course you had no idea. And like, not that my feelings are entirely wrapped up in current events, but they are uniquely linked to current events, you know? So that was rough. For all of the reposting and thinking and whatever that I've been doing on my own Instagram account and things, my one person sent me the article that, you know, said like he was just having a bad day, and just very jokingly was like, does that help? Like, does it, you know? And I was like, no, of course that doesn't freaking help. And now is not the time for jokes. I have never been more tempted to throw my phone in anger in the past 48 hours than I have been for like the rest of my life, basically, just because I've been so angry about it. Another person sent me a message and was just like, hey, I see you, I hear you, I value you, all those things. And I was just like, but you didn't even ask me how I was doing, or like we're friends, but like you didn't say, how can I support you, or I feel this with you, or, you know, things like that. I don't know. Just personally, I've had so many instances of people getting really close to what I think would be helpful and just not hitting that mark. And so for me, and this is you know, just for me, I think we all experience this grief and trauma differently, and different things are going to help us. But for me and for people who are like me, action really helps. And so, like, instead of saying, how are you doing? I mean, you can also say that I super appreciate that. But instead of saying, you know, how are you doing? Just, you know, if you are not an Asian person, just be like, hey, I donated to this thing, or, you know, I'm checking in with you, and or like, you know, if you were my boss, being like, hey, do you need me to push anything, or can I take on some extra work because I realize that you might be having a hard time? Like something like that speaks way louder than just a comment or a message or whatever. Even sending me like, oh, you know what? This is the Janchi Show, so if you want to send me just like order me food at some point and just be like, hey, thinking of you, you know, that would be super helpful. Not just
I thought
like
you were going to say, send me an email to the Janchi Show. You know? I really did think that's what you were going to say.
I mean,
emails will make us happy.
You can send me an email to
emails.
janchishow at justlikemedia.com. That definitely is nice. But
Actually,
yeah,
we did get an email from Jeff.
Yeah,
And that was very nice.
Exactly,
So
like things
I
like
think that was
that.
earlier this week or so.
Yeah, like I tweeted out, I was like, I care less about what you post and more about how many personal messages you have sent to a person checking in on them.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that by the time you're hearing this, it will have been a week out from the events. It's not too late. It's not going to feel, I mean, like it literally never, it is better to be late than never,
Yep,
you know, like
sure.
a week out, 2 weeks out, 4 weeks out, like, hey, are you doing okay? I realize that now is a hard time for you. NBC Asian America shared a thing on their Instagram story that was like hate crimes in the past year, like from March 2020 to 2021, are up like a ridiculous amount. There were 3,800 anti-Asian hate incidents, mostly against women in the past year. And again, like we realize as the Janchi Show, as the Janchi Boys, there are no women on this podcast. And I think that like that's something that we acutely feel, and our hearts are so broken for all of the Asian women who deal with this. That the hypersexualization of East Asian women and Southeast Asian women especially is real, and there is so much about this. Like we are young-ish. I'm not gonna say young, it's like none of us are like 18, but young-ish Asian men.
I like the ish part for me. Thank you.
Yeah. You know, who are gonna have to deal with this, you know, 2.5 less times as often as female Asians, you know, and that, yeah, that's so. Anyways, I'm done speaking for this. Yeah.
Do you want me to go?
Go for it. If you want to, I
Yes,
realize this is a podcast, but also this is our time and your time. And if you're just like, man, I can't say anything, then that's
you can
totally fine too.
You can also speak about anything. Honestly, you can speak.
Yeah, you
about
can just talk about grilled cheese hot dog.
how your clubhouses have been going. Like you were kind of saying. I mean, the
I appreciate
group conversations.
I appreciate you navigating or guiding me towards the light a little bit, because KJ, when you were talking, I was getting a little emotional because I do want the bare minimum. I want bare minimum action.
I mean, bare minimum is better than nothing.
I am going to write about this, I think, tomorrow. Or I guess tomorrow as in Saturday. But I'm just going to say it. I have not heard from one single person that I know that I have been friends with, or even my parents, since Tuesday, when they have been doing a great job during this time of, trying to learn and at least telling me and a denouncement of Asian hate. But since Tuesday, and for everybody else this entire time, they've not heard a single thing from anyone. And I'm furious. I just can't believe it. And that's why I talked about that before, about growing up, and I was never seen as Asian. And that part of me has been completely erased in these people's minds. And I am so mad. I am so mad. And as much as I want to reach out and just say, hey, this stuff's going on, that would be great. It's not my burden to educate or to reach out to other people and just have them do the bare minimum and say, hey, I've seen what's going on in the news, or what's going on. I saw what happened on Tuesday. How are you doing? Even saying, I don't care if you feel like you might offend me, offend me. I'm just going to be happy that you messaged me. But I know that most of these people don't listen to this podcast. I know most of them probably don't look at my posts or read what I'm writing anymore. And that's the thing about growing up. You grow away from your old friends. But for me, being someone who never accepted themselves as Asian until recently, I don't have a hugely diverse group of friends. I have a lot of white friends still. And, I've had a couple people repost some of my stuff, which is great. And, I reach out and thank them, and then you get messages back. But, man, I just cannot believe it. Not a single person. And what's been great about Clubhouse, Nathan, has been that I appreciate you bringing that up, because that has been a saving grace. Because I feel like I can sit in a room with people that I know or that know me and get what I'm talking about and why I feel this way and why I'm so angry. And that's been really good. And I will shout out to my partner as well, Emily. She has been really great throughout all of this, because this whole thing has been tough for her too, because on this journey for her, just like we've talked about, other parts of our lives having to come out of their own fog as we go out of it as well, and then we have to have this conversation and we talk about it, and we don't have language usually or generally when we're starting and doing this and we're developing it. They certainly don't, because they've not ever thought about this either. And so she has been so patient and so willing to hold me accountable for when I'm really emotional and really, lashing out, or because I'm angry or because I'm scared. And, we had a conversation last night that was like that, because I was talking about this, because this has really made me very upset. And, and she's just like, well, what do you want them to say? And that's like, I want them to do the bare minimum of just saying that what I said before. And then she brings up a good point that they don't have the language to talk about it either. And I'm not really trying to call them out and cancel them out of my life. I'm just trying to hold people accountable that are my friends, or who I feel like are my friends, and if that's what that is, then that's what that is. But I mean, that's been the hardest part over this past week. I go from doing a lot of grieving for not just the community, but for the families of the victims of Tuesday's massacre. And and then it's like you hear a lot of self-care tips and wanting to do that and needing to do that, and we have to do that because you can lose yourself in this and the anger and the despair. And I'm really trying not to do that, and Clubhouse definitely helps with that. This helps with that. You guys help with that. That I'm really grateful and thankful for that. But it's been really tough. And, I really appreciate you guys. I appreciate Jerry. I appreciate the Clubhouse crew that we've built. And I really appreciate Emily for just being here and willing to have the conversation, even though it's tough for me and it's tough for her, and we talk about supportive spouses and things like that. I just want to shout her out for being there for me right now.
Yeah, that's really great that she's helping you out and being supportive. I got that feeling from the one time, the episode that we had with her on it. I could tell though that there was a lot of connection there, and that that you guys have a great relationship. So, and Sarah, of course, as well. I mean, we
have a great relationship with Sarah.
We've talked with Sarah.
Yeah, stop talking to my wife.
It's only
I know
about
she's
snacks,
our social media
though. It's
manager,
only
but
about
come
snacks. But yeah, I mean, I feel you, Patrick, on that, because I think there's a lot of people who feel the same way. I'm guarantee that there's a lot of people out there who haven't been messaged, who haven't been called by their parents or reached out to, and that doesn't mean that they don't want to do that. It doesn't mean that the parents or the friends and members do not want to reach out. I think there may be reasons, and again, everyone has their reasons, but there may be reasons of like you said, not knowing what to say, not knowing how to bring it up, how sensitive of a topic
without,
it is.
Offense.
Yeah, without
yeah.
offending. And I wonder, because my parents are very great about, little things every once in a while. Like, you guys saw my parents donated to one of the associations in Washington, D.C. for for Asian American or anti-Asian American hate. And all they did was send me a message about that. And that was it. It was just a little quick message. And so I shared that because it was very meaningful. I mean, it was nice.
Dude, yeah, you shared that with us, and it literally brought Patrick and I to tears.
Yeah, it really did. So shout out to your parents.
Yeah,
100%.
It brought a tear to my eye as well. So, but those are the things that my parents do. It's like, it's very, they wouldn't normally call me and talk to me about my feelings. The same thing when my mom's had feelings in the past about very emotional things. She doesn't want to talk about them. It's really hard to talk about really deep emotional conversations like that. And that's just how some people process. I've kind of probably taken that same route over the years myself. And, with my wife, if there's anything really super emotional, I'll push it under the rug for a really long time. Because I don't want to talk about it, because I don't want to be vulnerable. I don't want to be, I'll cry at a movie in a heartbeat. But if I'm talking about a topic that may be a little more emotional, I probably would avoid it. And I don't know if it's just my defense mechanism. And maybe I get that from my parents. I don't know. So I'm curious on how many of the people out there are just not reaching out to people because of that, because they're afraid, not because they don't care, but because they don't know how to do it. And I think, I'm hoping that the more and more that they see the posts online and the media, and just start seeing that this is an issue, and that it isn't something that should be swept under the rug. It isn't something that people should be silent about, and that they will start reaching out, and that they will, sometimes it just takes people a little while to process it. And because it was just Tuesday, not everybody. There's probably people out there who haven't even read the news yet about this current situation. So that's what I'm thinking that that's probably going to happen. But
I do want to I just really quickly want to say that my parents have done a great job throughout all of this in reaching out. And what I said before was not an indictment of them, like in any way, like I love them less or whatever. I don't want that to be misconstrued or taken out of context. But it is something that I do think about since Tuesday, because that's the worst mass shooting in America during the pandemic. So It's like that's a thing, and it's clearly targeted Asian attack, and so that's why that makes me so emotional, and that's why I mention my parents even in the same breath as with the anger that I would voice to the other people that I would hope reach out is only because of that, and not an indictment of them in any other way. I still love my parents. They are wonderful people, and they are trying. I do.
I think that's the difficult thing of being adopted in all of this is, I think that there are, especially in my social circle, there are so many well-meaning folks who will call themselves colorblind. And the reality of it is being colorblind isn't good enough, because being colorblind literally ignores everything that we are going through. Because if you're colorblind and you don't see color, then you don't understand why this is a racist attack. You don't understand why the community is hurting. You don't recognize that there is a community to be hurting. You don't you don't recognize that these stories aren't being told, because if you're colorblind and people are just people, then it doesn't matter, if it's a black person getting shot for walking their dog outside in the broad daylight, or it doesn't matter if it's like a bunch of Asian women getting shot at a spa, or whatever, or if it's a white person who gets shot for walking their dog, or if it's a white person who is working at a spa, or all that stuff, because it's all just people. But the reality of it is, it's not just people. Like that, this is a colored world. Like we live in a world full of color. Like our TVs are full of color. Our photos now are full of color, and we take out the color like as an art choice, not as a but we put the color in because we want it to be representative of real life. Like real life has color, and it's not good enough to just be colorblind, because like you then can't, I think, go the extra step of loving a person more fully or better, and being fully aware of their struggles. I literally just journaled about what is the kindest thing somebody has done for me, and immediately it was that my college roommate's dad always offered me his left hand as a handshake, and he did it early enough that I didn't have to think about switching hands or whatever. I saw that, I recognized it, and could lead out and give him a left-handed handshake. And for the first time in my life, I felt both my handicap and normal. And like that is such a powerful thing, right? And so like that he never said anything, he didn't ask anything, he like all it was a handshake. Every interaction with him was a left-handed handshake, and it honored me, it dignified me, it saw my hand, didn't make a big deal out of it, just said this is his normal and I'll meet him where he is at, you know what I mean? And so like in the same way, like if we are seen as Asian and people see us as Asian, then it honors us by saying, hey, I see what's happening in your community, and I feel with you. I'm here with you. I've donated for you. Or like if you're a friend and like me, and you know that my favorite snack is Doritos or Cheez-Its, or like you just want to, whatever. Like
Cool Ranch.
Okay, get out of here, bro. Like one of the best things that my parents did for me and Sarah was they bought us like a big old care package full of things, and they said, hey, we get that we can't be with you, but we love sharing meals together, and so we just, here is a thing that like you will enjoy that is from us. And like if I had gotten, I might still get that, I don't know, but like for people to send us things like that is a means, just like you said, Nathan. It's not like I'm not necessarily one to talk about my feelings with my parents, although I won't shy away from it. Like I did find myself ugly crying in front of my mom one morning, but like like however you show love, whether it's acts of service, whether it's finding out a way to do physical touch, I'm sure that there is a way, quality time, however, like those things are possible. And like go making a person that you care about feel uniquely seen is so much better than just saying, hey, how are you doing? And saying, hey, how are you doing is so much better than silence,
Hopefully to anyone listening out there who's thinking, hey, maybe I should reach out to some people that I know, some Asians, some friends, some sisters, brothers. Do it. don't think about it, just do it. You know, it's something too that you kind of mentioned on KJ that I saw a quote on Miss Kaylin Brown. You guys probably know what I'm thinking about, but it was a very meaningful statement, and it says, "To my fellow AAPI transracial adoptees, it is hard to process violence against people who look like us when the perpetrator of the violence looks like our family." And I mean, that's very true. It's very, I think, an interesting viewpoint from our transracial adoptee community that we're all looking at it that way, I think.
Well, and I think it's, 3 weeks ago when we had the first of these episodes, we were all just like, golly, this is crazy. And these people look like us. And so we were wrestling. Like, that was arguably our first experience, certainly as a show, with dealing with this kind of systemic racism and anti-Asian sentiment, and in a way that played out in violence, in death, and all of those things. And it's been really wonderful for me to have Sarah, who has been on this journey with me, to bounce off of these ideas and dealing with the new nuance, and the extra, or I guess the less familiar nuance of anti-Asian racism, anti-East Asian racism, because, anti-Black racism is very familiar to us as Americans, and I think that will always be the most familiar version of racism that Americans wrestle with. But that is not the only racism that we have to wrestle with. And so just to have her alongside me with a journey, and I would assume vice versa, and trying to figure out, like, for the first time, I'm like, oh my God, I'm in an interracial marriage. And like that, like, I feel that weight of like, oh, that we are now an interracial couple, where previously, like, people would just say that, and I was like, yeah, cool, whatever. In the same way that I think all transracial adoptees probably checked the box Asian and, like, just didn't think anything of it. But like now it is playing out, and we are living into those realities, and we're just like, I mean, I am just floundering. I'm like, what do I do? What? And I'm really grateful that we have that. But yeah, that point of people who are dying look like us, and the people doing the killing are people that we feel like are people that are, look like our family, people that, so, and that's a real brain fog, yeah.
I know we have a lot of, I mean, not to talk about the current events, but what, in addition to that, what can we do, and what have you guys seen out there that people are doing, not just for the, for individuals like ourselves or friends and family, but what are people doing for the community? I know I've seen a lot of hashtags, stop AAPI hate, we are not a virus, stop Asian hate. I mean, what other things are you guys seeing and hearing about, I guess?
Specifically in light of what happened on Tuesday, Asian Americans Advancing Justice, the Atlanta branch, and also the Asian Pacific American Women's Forum, or the National Asian Pacific American Women's Forum. Both branches have been doing things both on the ground in Atlanta for the families, and pushing, for other things, including accountability. I signed on with a statement earlier that went to Biden in the administration, demanding action. There's also, if you go to the link in my bio on Instagram, the very first thing is the Asian Americans Advancing Justice community statement, and that's another official statement that you can sign on to in condemnation of this. Really, a lot of it has been donation. I just want to highlight one of the victims. Hyunjun Kim's son started a GoFundMe and wrote a really, really heartfelt message on Instagram that made me cry. And that one has already raised over $1 million. And it was set for 30,000 because it's him and his younger brother, and they have to not only pay for all of that stuff for her, lay her to rest, but they got to live and they got to make money now because she was providing for both of them. So I think as you're gonna start seeing a lot more of these funds for the families come out. I would say first, if you can give or at least can share those links, please do. I think that is really important, especially in this time of centering the victims' families as they kind of recoup and try and process and move forward. I can't imagine trying to do that. It would be terrible. And the other thing was, I have all of these links in the link in my bio, the link tree. There is a community resource guide for Asians or Asian Americans in Atlanta right now that was put together by the Asian Americans Advancing Justice branch. So please go to that because it's also a running document where you can add resources that if you provide something or if you have some service that you can offer, you can get connected with them and partner with them to do that. So specifically, I mean, I know you said not for specifically the current events, but those are the ones that are just top of mind for me right now, just because I think I don't know. I just really, yeah. So.
Oh no, I meant I did want to talk about the current events.
Gotcha.
I didn't want to talk about.
Oh, gotcha.
More additional information. It's just the ways we can help. I think is specifically what I feel. I mean, just for that current event, for any AAPI hate that's happening right there. I mean, I donated to stopaapi-hate.org, and so that's a website too that you can go to and get some information on. But
actually that's a good plug. I want to follow up on that and say, if you are a victim or witness a hate crime, that's where we're getting these statistics, because they have a centralized place that's not connected to the government where you can go and report these crimes, and they will vet through and they will be part of the data set that we need to see who all of these things are happening to, where and when they're happening. So that is also very important. Thank you for bringing that up, Nathan.
Sure. I mean, your statistics that you posted on your Instagram was very helpful too. I mean, those were some statistics I didn't even know about. I mean, I'd heard about the huge percentage of increase of hate crimes in New York, but across the country it was lower. So across the country it's about 150%. But just seeing some of those numbers, who they were from, a majority were Chinese. The next highest was actually Korean. Things like that. It's I don't think it's just, there's a lot of information in it that people need to see, I think. And that was very helpful. So thank you for posting those.
Action steps for me. I recently started therapy with BetterHelp.com because of another podcast. We don't have a partnership with them yet.
Oh, I was like, wait, are you about to do a low-key plug of BetterHelp?
No, that would be amazing. Well, but one of the things about BetterHelp is if you sign up, you then get an affiliate link, and then you can share it with a friend, and you each get a free week, or you can donate 2 free weeks to a friend or whatever. So I would just say, if you need therapy, or if you're like, hey, you know what, if you're talking with someone and I'm thinking about doing this, use that person's affiliate link. Yeah, even if you don't need it themselves, just be like, hey, if I will sign up for a free session just so that you get another free week. You know what I mean? Because even if BetterHelp is cheaper than traditional therapy, it's still expensive. It's still a cost that you may not necessarily be able to pay for, because obviously a lot of health insurances don't necessarily cover that and all that stuff. But mental health really matters. And especially, obviously it's difficult for adoptees, it's difficult for Asian Americans, it's difficult for human beings. And so I think giving the gift of therapy at basically no cost to you is a way that could help. I will also say donating to things, all the things that Patrick listed. Honestly, for me, even if you only, how things like Wikipedia would be like, if everybody just donated $17, we could keep this going for, whatever. My thing is, donate the $5. Because realistically, until the earth explodes or Jesus comes back or whatever, this stuff will continue to happen. So if you donate $5 every time this happens, every time a Trayvon Martin or Breonna Taylor or George Floyd or Vicha Ratanapakdi or whatever, every time this happens, if you donate $5, that adds up over the course of your life. And I wouldn't feel bad. You literally may not be able to give $3,000 or $100 or $5 even if it's, $1.50, like, but being able to do that repeated action regularly, I think is so powerful. So like, do that. Or if you're listening to this and it's been a week since all of this has happened, and you know someone who is even like a friend of a friend and you've only hung out with them a couple of times, but they're Asian American, send them a message. Just be like, hey, I know that it's been a while, but also grief has its own cycle and timeline, and it's never the same for anyone. Even if it's the second or fourth or 12th time that they're experiencing it, just reach out to them. Be like, hey, I know this is weird. We're not that close of friends, but are you doing okay? Is there anything that I can do? Get over yourself for the weirdness and check in with someone. Those are my. Oh, I have one other action step. This one's really easy and really fun. Nathan cooked up a Korean American fusion recipe that is in the cutest coloring book. It's a recipe book by Tiger Boom Creative. You can download it. There's a link in our bio, the Janchi Show bio. It's $5. It's just a printable recipe book. And if you're like me, I love coloring. It doesn't matter how old I am. I will always love coloring. But all the proceeds of that will go to different foundations. I think it's Asian American Foundation, Stop AAP I Hate. There's one other one in there. So all the proceeds go to that. So there's a $5 thing that's just like, here's a cute ass coloring book, and some recipes that I like. Yeah. So that's just a light, fun thing by Tiger Boom Creative, who is using her powers for good.
And yeah, if you know any other people, I mean, if you don't want to donate to an organization, or you're not sure about which one to donate to, but you know somebody who's maybe needing a little help or something, send them $5. Send them a Starbucks card.
Send Patrick $5 and be like, hey man, I like your Instagram content. Here's $5. Keep it going.
We're gonna start a buy me a coffee for Patrick, and everybody sends him.
If you send me
coffee.
$5, I will donate it to a charity. So I will throw that out there. If you send me $5, I will do that.
But not if he sends you $6. If he sends him $6, he's keeping that
send me
$6.
$6, going right in my pocket. But
if you send him $4, who knows where it's gonna go?
I do want to plug one other thing. It's kind of related, but it's just you gotta watch it. Minari is out on stream for rent. So it's $20, which I was really surprised by, but actually I was like, you know what? I don't even care. I'm gonna give them $20 because this movie's great, and we gotta keep supporting it. I mean, it's already gotten the nominations. Best Picture, I believe. Steven Yeun. Shout out to Steven Yeun for Best Actor. Riz Ahmed as well. Everybody involved in those movies, and all of the Chloe Zhao for getting nominated for Best Director as well. What do those things too. If you're still suspending. Going and engaging in any of the ways that we've talked about here, then dive in the entertainment. A lot of people eat Asian food and take in Asian customs and culture. That's what America does. It appropriates culture, and because it's supposed to be a fusion, it's supposed to be a blend. We're supposed to be adding all of our cultures together. But for some reason, we like to take each other's cultures and then wear them around like we
some reason being capitalism.
Yeah, exactly.
For some reason, capitalism mostly, and also colonialism.
That's a great point.
Yeah.
But just support those artists. And I think some of you were saying it about local businesses. I mean, that's another way that you can do that. I'm bad at that. I need to be better, and I want to make a conscious effort to do that. And then I guess just locally, this is for our Asian adoptee listeners. I will say that we've talked a lot about not feeling comfortable in Asian spaces, particularly. I don't know about you, Nathan, because you did a lot with collaboration. You've had more experiences, which is great. I want those. So if you can give them to me, that'd be awesome.
Give me your experiences.
Give me
you
your
have
life.
to move to California. You want to trade? You can have my house.
Put them into your pool of memories, and I'll just dive my face into them. I don't remember what that's actually called in Harry Potter, but
I will say, as you're moving along in your journey, it really sucks to say that tragedy like this can bring us closer to those things, but for me, it has. And in the past week, I have stood on more AAPI stages in Clubhouse, those bigger rooms, and spoke and been able to not only speak but speak confidently and feel confident. And for the first time this week, feeling because of tragedy, feeling very connected to Asian culture and the Asian community. And I know that we're all I don't know. I don't know if we're all looking for that. Some people aren't. You know, at some point, some people don't want to, and that's fine. That's okay. But if you are wanting to do that, I promise you that it's something that can happen for yourself if that's the route you go. And whether it's tragedy or whether it's just asking questions about how to engage and how to broach those spaces, you know, you can do it. That's all I want to say. You can do that, and if you do need help, I am happy to sit here and hold space with you. My name's Patrick, and I am done speaking. Clubhouse.
Nice.
Yeah.
Accessibility.
Well, I've heard some Android users on there now, so it's
Nice.
rolling out. It's rolling out.
Interesting.
Yeah, I knew that they were beta testing it, but yeah, that's all I got, guys.
Great. Well, in the light of, like I said, this week's events, we're not going to do a food portion. So I'm not even going to plug my personal IGs. Just, you know, reach out to the people that you need to. Reach out to the organizations that are out there to help. You know, and let's stop Asian hate.
Yeah, all of our information is in our very long show notes, so you can read through those. All of the resources that we just talked about, we'll be sure to link those in our show notes. I'm gonna end on a song instead of our normal closing song. I'm gonna end on this one. It's by Carmen and Lizzie, who Carmen is a close personal friend of mine, and we sang this song together in college. It's called "Hard Times, Come Again No More." It's an American tune by Stephen Foster. Is written back in 1854, which, in case you didn't know, that is basically as long as as long as there have been Asians in America, that is how old this song is. So like we trace our history back that far. This song goes back to the same time. Honestly, probably Asians were there before the song. Like we are American, and this song is American, and so it feels right to end here. Take a moment and breathe. Feel your way through this moment. Here is "Hard Times Come Again No More." Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
Let us pause in life's pleasures and count its many tears while we all sup sorrow with the poor. There's a song that will linger forever in our ears. Oh, hard times come again no more. 'Tis the song, the sigh of the weary. Hard times come days away.